It's weird that it's not.
There
we
it is.
go. There we go. Sorry, guys.
Hey!
We were having some technical issues.
Oh,
you don't need to hear yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Why are you touching things?
Wait, I gotta
Stop
hear!
touching things.
I can't hear the computer.
Oh my
I
gosh.
have to be able to hear it.
You don't need to be able to hear yourself. Hey everybody, we're just getting in here. Sorry about that. We always seem to have some technical difficulties when we do lives just because of the way YouTube is set up. But we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm just letting a little bit of time go by for everyone to get in. Hey Amber. Hi Brittany. Hi I remember that's not even your name. That's your daughter's name. I remember. Hey Nicole. Hey Amanda. Hi Tamar. Hey Nee.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, like.
There's a little bit of a...
Is this too distracting for you? Can you
Yeah.
not focus? Let me do this. There. Now Jeremy cannot see the computer anymore
see
because he
myself.
gets very distracted.
Like a dog from Up.
Oh my gosh. So we are going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to do the questions that everyone submitted via the comments first, and then we will open the floor up for other questions.
Yep.
Hey Terrell's Party of Three. Hey Tiffany. Okay, so the first section that we kind of have is on both marriage and our kids. And so the first question, which we get a lot in general, is how we met. Jeremy, stop looking at yourself.
Make sure I'm right.
Oh my gosh.
I don't have a mirror to...
Oh my gosh,
Sorry.
you are too much. Like, calm down. It's like if you invited everyone in our house, would you be fixing your shirt 15
Probably.
times? My gosh, you're such
Probably.
a nervous Nelly. Okay, so how we met. You want to tell them how we met?
So we actually met online.
The short version.
The short version. Yeah, the short version. I could go on and on.
The short version.
So we actually met online through one of the dating apps. I honestly don't remember which one. It's been so long. But long story short, I decided to be a little spontaneous. We were talking for about a week before we actually met,
Yeah,
and
barely.
I actually drove up for New Year's Eve 2013 into 14, and we managed to spend. We had a date that lasted 4 or 5 hours, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. We ended up seeing each other again 2 weeks later. In Washington, D.C.
That's how we met. Like,
That's how we met.
It just let
Sorry.
it breathe. You're like rolling into this whole story. We do have a whole full video on how we met, so if you wanted to get the full story, you can go watch that video. It's on the channel. We're going to roll into the next question, which is, how did I feel about getting into a relationship with someone who had previously had kids and been married? And to be honest, at the beginning of our relationship, I didn't take Jeremy serious. So when it came down to being like, oh, he's a divorcee, he has 2 kids, it was like, I'm gonna go on a date and we will see kind of how things go. It wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna definitely be the one. So let me think about if I want to deal with kids or an ex-wife.
Right.
So. Yeah, I mean, it didn't really like bother me. I didn't really care about it. And I guess I felt like if that was the person that I was supposed to be with, then I was going to accept whatever came with that.
Yep.
Okay. Our next question is, how long have we been together? We've been together for going on 6 years now?
Yep,
5.5
6
years? A little over 5.5 years?
6 years. It's just coming December.
Yeah, so going on 6 years, so we've been
We've
together
been
for
Married for 2.5.
Yeah. That was our next question.
Oh, hey!
So we got married in 2017, sorry. We got married in 2017 in February, so 2 days after Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Was this my first marriage? Yes, this was my first marriage. I've never been married before, and I don't plan on getting married again. I mean, in the event of Jeremy's like untimely death, I might. And you can never predict the future, so
Yeah.
I mean, I might. Jeremy is older, so yeah, there's that. We have a almost 16-year age gap. Okay, next question is, who are the kids? So we always talk about these kids, and I think some people are starting to think that we're like fabricating the fact that there's already 2 kids. But our kids are Amelia and Walker. We call them Mia and Mikey for short, and they actually live down in South Carolina. North Carolina. Why would I say South? Because we were in South Carolina. That's why. But they live down in North Carolina because they go to school down there, so they're pretty much there most of the time with their mom. And then we tend to either fly them up on weekends, go down there. We have them typically for spring break. We split the summer, and we trade off on holidays. So that's kind of how that works. The scheduling is like never an exact science. Okay. How did the kids react to us getting married?
I would say the kids were pretty, I mean, on the surface, they were really excited. They kind of seemed kind of surprised and kind of, did I
Okay,
on the surface, they seemed kind of surprised, kind of shocked, kind of excited. We actually did, obviously, the intro video that's always on Mariah's videos is our wedding ceremony in the DR last summer.
But that wasn't when we
got married. But that wasn't actually, but they were certainly excited for a trip to the Dominican Republic, but they were admittedly kind of excited, or seemed to be excited when we first got married, or when we told them we were getting married. So they took it well.
I mean, we had been together for 3 years at that point?
Yep.
So it was kind of like, and we told them, I think 6 months after we were, not quite 6 months, it was like 4 months after we got married. Yep. We went ahead and told them. So they weren't the last to know, but they weren't the first either.
Yep.
That one we already answered. Okay. How is my step-parent relationship with the kids? It's been a journey. That's pretty much how it is. I guess came in, and being the person that I am definitely more of a disciplinarian than Jeremy used to be. So, I mean, in the beginning, things were a little bit...
contentious?
I would just say a little bit rocky. I mean, I wasn't going in with the mindset of, oh, I'm going to make these kids like me. I just went in and kind of set the tone and set boundaries that I'm with your dad. I'm not trying to take him away in any way. I am my heart is open to loving you guys, but at the very minimum, we will have respect. So, I mean, I think...
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning, it took them a little bit of time to adjust to just the different, I guess, level of discipline. Because, to be frank, Jeremy would let them slide with, like, so many different things, like, and would let so many things, like, pass because they were cute. So yeah, I mean...
Sorry
it kind of is what it is. No, you're fine. Now that they're older, I think it's been in some ways better and then not, because some of the things they're going through right now are just normal. We have a teenager and a preteen, basically. So it's like we're going through those normal teenager kind of like attitudes and mood swings and stuff like that. But at the same time, they do push the limit to try to test. I think to try to test to see still right now if I'm like going to actually stick in there and continuously discipline them and enforce things that we just frankly find very important in our household. And I think it's really hard too, going back and forth between the two households for them. Their mom has a totally different set of rules, and the things that she allows to go on in her household, we don't necessarily allow to go on in our household. So it's an ever adjusting process. Okay, now we have I have some questions that were very specific from people. So we have first Tiffany N, who asks, what's your relationship with Jeremy's ex like?
Ooh.
How would you describe our relationship?
I wouldn't say bad. I wouldn't say good either. I would say there's not a whole lot of conversation between the two of you.
Oh no, there's
Apart
actually...
from, I would say that I would say when the two of you, the rice is done, when the two of you are together, it's maybe a sentence to each other here and there. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's not anything. It's not arguing. It's not, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's, hey, how you doing? You want to go over for a drink type relationship.
I was about to say, you can take that back
Yeah.
because the sentences usually only go one way.
No,
I
that's
usually initiate and say, hey, hello, how are you doing? How was your drive? And I will get either a one-worded answer or be totally ignored, to be quite frank. So, I mean, there is virtually no communication, and frankly, I am okay with that at this point. I have tried for many years. I have made sure she's always had my phone number. That way, if anything was needed, she ever needed to get into contact with me, Jeremy, anything about the kids, that was always an available option. But she, frankly, is not interested and virtually hates my existence as it is. So, yeah, I mean, while I would like our relationship or lack thereof to be better, it kind of is what it is. I can only do but so much, and I've been nothing but respectful and understanding. So, yeah, there is that. Okay. I'm actually going to break this up a little bit because we do have some other questions in here. Just because you had just asked, so she said, does his wife treat you like if you're beneath her because you're younger? I think in the beginning, yes. In the beginning, it was like, oh, you're with a little girl, basically. And I had to make it very clear, like, look, I'm a grown woman. I would appreciate if you would be mature and act like a grown woman. But yeah, I mean, she had her own hangups about their failed marriage. I mean, I don't know any wife that necessarily isn't angry about her marriage failing or her ex-spouse moving on. So, I mean, kind of one of those things where it is what it is. Yeah, she tends to lash out a lot about certain things, and in the beginning it was worse, but I think more and more, as the years have gone on, we've created a lot more boundaries, so...
Well, and she's remarried too, so it's not like, yeah.
I mean, that didn't really change a whole
Well,
lot.
that's
Frankly, she's
true.
been married
Yeah.
for about the same amount of time
This
that
is
we
true.
have been, and that didn't really change things. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to her next question, which is, does she know what you guys are going through, and is she/does she support you guys in your journey? And that is a definite no.
She does not.
Frankly, like, if she was to come on and support this channel by, watching our videos, I wouldn't really care. I wouldn't really think about it. If she was to be watching right now, it wouldn't affect me either way. But does she know? No, we haven't made any efforts to make her aware of everything, because frankly, it's none of her business. Like, at the end of the day, it's just not. For anyone who's coming in, I am 26. And how old are you?
I will be 42 in December.
I knew you were going to do that. That's why I asked.
I did count. I was like, wait a minute, quick math.
Oh my
I
gosh.
try never to do math in public.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and then we have Carmela, which I hope she's in here too. So she asked basically the same question about the kid's mom. So no, we don't really work well together. We just work better apart. Jeremy, she asked a question for you. When did you introduce the children to me?
We were together about a month and a half. It was after we came back from that first Valentine's Day together in Asheville.
Yeah.
You ended up staying overnight at my apartment, and before I took you back to the airport the next day.
Yeah.
And I think we either ended up having to go to the house where they were. I think that's what it was. Or they came over to the apartment, one of the two. But it's about a month and a half after we met, to keep it simple.
Yeah. She also asked me, did I ever feel jealous? And I'm assuming that she meant jealous of maybe Jeremy's ties to his ex-wife. And I honestly kind of laughed when I got this question, because it's like, for me, there's nothing to be jealous of. I'm an individual. She's her individual. She is the ex-wife. I am the current wife. So I don't know. There's never been anything where I felt like jealousy or felt like he was ever going to bounce back and go behind my back and they were going to have something secret going on. It's just always been, she's the kid's mom. She's not going anywhere. She is permanently kind of in our picture. Even when they turn 18, there will still be things that we have to attend together and see each other. So it's never been a thing of jealousy. I mean, to be frank, also, she is older than I am. So, I mean, yeah. I've always felt like I've had my youth, and I don't know, I think when we met too, especially in my younger years, I was pretty confident. I just felt like I could be with him, I could be with somebody else at the end of the day, but I was always very secure in who I was, so that was never an issue. She also asked, when did you guys realize that marriage was in the cards for your future? When did you realize that marriage was in the cards?
It truthfully didn't take long. After my first marriage, I was just wasn't sure I was going to get remarried and wasn't necessarily looking to. But then Mariah came along, who I think of as my soulmate.
Aww.
Yeah. She changed my mind, and I wasn't necessarily looking, but I certainly found a lot more than I expected, at least initially. And after it was probably about a year or so in at the most. And I know we always joke with each other that I knew I loved her before she knew she loved me.
Yeah, tell them when you knew you loved me.
We were together about May. In fact, it was Valentine's Day weekend, the same weekend she met the kids. We were only together about a month and a half, and there was just something about us that just clicked. And I was head over heels from that moment on.
Me, on the other hand,
it took her a little bit longer, but not that much longer.
It didn't take like a full year, but it was definitely maybe about 6 months down the line. So I definitely didn't fall for you as quickly.
You put it on me. What can I say?
Oh gosh. Okay, we are gonna keep on going. So she asked me what made me get married at a young age. I mean, I was 23 when we got married, so I don't know. I guess I feel like about marriage, when you know, mm-hmm. And when you're ready, you're ready. At the end of the day, I feel like we are both adults. We are decisive. We know what we want, and I kind of feel like, why string it out or draw it out? You're going to be in a relationship.
I'm going to turn that off before.
Okay, go ahead. I didn't realize you still had it on. I thought it was on.
Well, I was cooking while we were
but I feel like about marriage, just that if you know you're going to be with someone long term, then as long as you're not doing it like within 2 months of meeting them, then why not go for it? Hey, Verkosha, I just saw you came in. Next question. We already talked about, okay, Simply Tanika asks, are the kids looking forward to a new sibling? So this is a two-part question. First of all, the kids do not know that we are trying to conceive. I think that's like so weird to tell the kids that. It's like telling them our sex schedule and that we're having sex. It's not a conversation for them or anything that they need to know. On the other hand, Mia has mentioned the fact that she would like a younger sibling on various occasions. So, I mean, it's always been out there. She's always kind of put it out there. So I think she will be excited initially. And then once the initial charm kind of wears off and it sets in that she's not going to be the baby anymore, it's going to turn to jealousy at that point. And then
I think she'll be at a point in her, when she at an age where she'll want to help, and I don't necessarily know it'll be jealous. I mean, it could very well be.
I don't think she's gonna want to help.
You don't think so?
No. know. I think she's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is like cute at first, but
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
once things really
After
settle
the first
in,
year, it'll be like, yeah, this isn't cute anymore.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a good
after
point.
like the first month and a half,
Oh, yeah,
like you
that's
give
fair.
her way too much credit. Like her tolerance for things is like low when it comes to certain stuff. So yeah, I think she'll be initially excited. I think she'll feel like it's nice to have another sibling. I know she wants a sister because all she has right now is her brother. And then as far as Walker is concerned, I don't think he's gonna care. I think he's gonna be like, I can really care less.
He'd be oblivious to life if he could.
All right, then we have Vails fan, which is Amber. She asked, do we have any favorite hobbies? So for me, my hobbies include obviously YouTube, photography, and we both are huge movie buffs. So we like having movie days. So that's like our biggest hobby.
Yep,
And then you have your own hobbies
all day in bed watching movies.
Yeah.
So I am admittedly a bit of a fitness weirdo. I was a bit more of a fitness weirdo than I used to. I used to be a lot bigger a fitness weirdo than I am now. I used to train to do triathlons a whole bunch of years ago. But I do still like to ride bike a lot. I like to cook. I like to read. I've kind of grown more into reading as I've gotten older. But yeah.
Okay. The way you answer it, but yeah, so dead.
Well, I didn't want to string it along just talking about my hobbies. Sorry, I wasn't trying to go down this elaborate road of what I enjoy doing in my...
My gosh. Okay. Then we have Nee, who I know I saw come in here. Queen Nee. She said, what are some of the ways you cope with stress / anger management of daily life? It's like a lot of inner talking. Like I think I talk to myself inside my own head a lot because there are just a lot of situations that I could get very angry and like overly frustrated about. Yeah, so I think like the biggest way I kind of cope with it is that I tell myself that it's either something that's temporary, or if it's something involving another person, that I have no control over that person, or I can choose to not deal with that person. So I think that's like the biggest thing. I used to admittedly be a very hot-headed individual. I wasn't always as calm. I used to, the moment like you snapped at me, I would pretty much let you have it all just to let you know that you would never again do it in your life. But I mean, I guess with time and age, things kind of change. I've definitely calmed down a lot, and I think above all else, I tend to just try to give people grace. I try to look at it as maybe they're having a bad day or a bad week or some life circumstances stressing them out. So I try to consider that and not really worry about the rest. Okay. All right, now we're going to get into what probably most of you are in here for, which is the TTC portion. And Simply Tanika asks, if Jeremy would have had sperm issues, would we have been open to donor sperm? You want to answer that?
Donor sperm was, I'm not going to say it was a sore subject. It was a subject I was going to save for a last resort. I'm not going to say I wasn't prepared to say yes. I wasn't prepared to say no. I was one of those people that needs to be put in a situation before I can physically make a decision. I'm not necessarily a what if guy, especially as it pertains to this. From my perspective, I didn't necessarily know how I felt about boner sperm. Wow, donor sperm.
I don't know how you feel about boner sperm either.
Wow, all right.
All right, keep going.
Every time we talk about sperm, it just goes down that road. I don't know.
We did get into some heated conversations, not arguments, but just very tense debates about it, because I felt like, although we were on this journey together and this is something that we both decided on, at the same time, it kind of felt like Jeremy already has 2 biological children that are connected to him. So, yeah, that would be a huge sacrifice in itself. And I definitely want children that are genetically connected to the both of us. But if it boiled down to us not having children at all, from either of us biologically, or kind of sacrificing having a child that's genetically connected to him, I was more on this kind of path that, well, while it isn't ideal, it's kind of in a way fair because you already have children with someone else. So it wouldn't be quite the same because we would be raising the child together. They wouldn't have your DNA. So I think like once we talked about that a lot, I won't say felt better about it, you just understood more where I was coming from.
Yeah, I was in a more of to a degree, in a wait and see attitude to see how the vasectomy reversal results were going to go. And I know we had been planning it for, I think we had discussed donor sperm about the same time we opened the conversation about having my vasectomy reversed. And I was...
Yeah, you were like a hothead back when we first talked about getting the vasectomy reversal done or doing that. It was like, which one do you want to do? And you were like, I would never do that with donor sperm. Like, no, it's not even an option. Like, you completely shut that whole notion down for me.
Well, admittedly, so seeing, not to... I guess seeing how you reacted to some of the, I know a lot of the people in the on the channel have mentioned surrogacy once or twice, and I can relate the way I felt a year and a half ago to the way you kind of seemed to feel about surrogacy. That's the best way I can think of to describe my feelings on the subject back then. I was just kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that, and certainly happy that I have strong swimmers. So. You looking at me?
Yeah, I mean, I understood where he was coming from with it. Also, the vasectomy conversation wasn't always the easiest conversation either in itself. That took a lot of work just to even make it to that conversation. But we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna come back to that later. We're gonna keep going though. Jenny asks, how long have we been TTCing? So we've been TTCing since August of 2018. So last year, because Jeremy got his vasectomy reversal done in July of last year. How many kids do we want? I think we are maxing out at 2 more. We're gonna see how it goes once we get 1 more. I mean, if we wind up with twins, that probably will be it for us. We'll probably settle in at 4 kids total. Yeah, so there's that. We'll see. Okay, Carmela asks, who decided to have more children and was it an easy conversation? So going back to that, I was if you want to call it a deciding factor, I was the deciding factor when it came to having more children. Jeremy was in a place where he was completely content just having Mikey and Mia, and I would say we were together maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I kind of brought the conversation up, and I think initially you were kind of resistant and I don't really see myself having more kids. And long story short, I pretty much had to let Jeremy know that that was going to be a deal breaker for me. So if he didn't want to have children, was not willing to have children, that it was going to be a deal breaker. I wasn't trying to force him into anything, but at the end of the day, I knew I would not be happy being with someone long term or being married to someone and totally throwing away my desire to have children.
And I think my desire to have children, and I think I'm not going to say they happened one and the same and at the same time, but the marriage conversation was followed very closely by the children conversation. I think we just started talking about having my vasectomy reversed
before we got married.
So it was, the conversations were reasonably close together. So when we both finally knew we were the ones for each other, I think that the conversation of having more children was also part of the conversation, or having my vasectomy reversed was part of the conversation. at the same time, we were talking about getting married.
Yeah.
Or reasonably close.
Yeah, because Jeremy, obviously, like I said, he's almost 16 years older than me. I knew that the timeline, kind of his clock, so to speak, was kind of ticking in the sense that he was almost at that 10-year mark of having the vasectomy, which the success rates after that 10-year mark tend to significantly drop. So I knew we had to make decisions with a little bit more haste versus saying, let's kind of kick this idea around for the next year and a half.
Interesting too, because the doctor that did my reversal has a really, really good success rate. So all of that, it was interesting because one of the things I asked him was before the procedure is what are my chances of having this thing, being able to go back to the way I was before my original vasectomy. And he said, oh yeah, I would say 85-90%, which really shocked me. I was like, because all of the research we had done put it in like the 30s and lower, yeah. So he's like 85-90%. I was like, wow, really? So that kind of surprised me.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to keep on moving. Okay, she also asked, do we have any boy or girl names picked out? We have some options floating around right now. I have an ongoing list. I think we are definitely kind of a bit more settled into a boy's name, I think, than a girl's. I think we're still kind of trying to figure.
I think you threw out Zara, and what?
You were not supposed to share that.
I'm not? Oh.
Just wow.
Oh, my bad.
Now, I started to tell you that beforehand, too. No, we're not sharing our whole list of names.
Sorry.
But, yeah, I mean, we'll kind of see once we get there. We're also considering like not naming the baby either until after we're home. And we kind of like threw that idea out, like we'll have a few tentative names and then pick one once the baby is actually home. So we will see. All right, then we have Autumn J, who asks, are we actively trying to conceive or are we taking some time off for a bit? I'm assuming that you are new, Autumn, and we have taken 2 cycles off, and we are for sure going to go back to actively trying to conceive in July as a definite. So we have taken some time off while we were waiting to get all the testing and stuff done, and by July we will be full steam ahead back on the baby making train. All right. She also asked, how are me and Jeremy coping and recovering from the loss? And we did do a video on how, couples kind of go through miscarriage together. So I guess, how do you think we have been kind of coping? I think it's been a kind of ongoing.
It's been just like life. It's up and down, and there's we've been talking about. There's been things we've talked about, and things that have been kind of hard to move on with, and we've been working through it and dealing as best as possible. And it's been a struggle at times. Other times it hasn't been quite a struggle, but it's been an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, I think you just go through ebbs and flows of emotions. You have days where you're more emotional, and then you have days where, not to say you don't think about it in the sense that you've forgotten about it, but you have days where it's not at the forefront of your mind. Okay, we're gonna move to Heather from Nashville, and she asked a very good question. No one has ever asked me this question before. I've actually asked this question to Jeremy, but no one's ever come out and asked me. So she writes, as an interracial woman / human, my question is, how are you planning on preparing your rainbow blessing for the negatives in society when it comes to his or her race? I'll let you start with answering that.
So this may surprise you. I don't remember if I actually mentioned this to you, but I have somebody that I kind of work with, but that is around work relatively often, and he and his wife are mixed race. And I actually asked him, and they have 2 kids. And I actually asked him, I was like, hey, so obviously we live in the north. I don't know if you told everybody where we live. So we live in New York, or we don't live too far from New York City. So I think the area of the country has a certain bearing into what you prepare your children for, and that's kind of what we talked about. And he said he's lucky because they live just outside of New York City. So he thinks that he and I mentioned that the perception is a lot different, obviously up here than it is in some other areas of the country. But I did ask him for some advice, and he said he obviously prepares, or he and his wife had prepared their children, because they're a little older, they're in their teens, for the realities of life in terms of racial biases and stereotypes. So I intend on, well, we intend on, I'm sure, doing the same, and making sure our kids are aware of the way society has a tendency to be.
Yeah. Also, I think it's going to be like second nature for me to do it more so than Jeremy. I think with Jeremy, it's going to be have to be a super intentional and learned kind of trait, because obviously Jeremy is the epitome of privilege. He is a white man. So he doesn't have to deal with even some of the things that I have to deal with, both as a woman and a person of color. And I think just because of the way I grew up and just the things that I have to deal with and the ways that I have to navigate life, I'm definitely probably going to be the parent who is more of the stressor when it comes to certain things and how to navigate as a interracial or biracial human in this society. I mean, and it's not a thing where I think Jeremy tends to think like it's always things that are like, I guess, propelled by the media. And the way I feel about it is I'm not one of these people who is like, oh, I hate cops and they are the worst and they're just out to get all black people. And I'm not one of those people. My dad is in law enforcement. So I have a lot of experience with just hearing everything from him, and he is a black man at the end of the day. So I think even him always stressing to me that I need to be conscious and careful and just very vigilant about the things I'm doing, where I'm doing them at, because some things are just wrong place and wrong time, and the country we live in does have a lot of biases. I also wanted to mention that my mom is biracial. My granddad's actually Portuguese, and both with me and my sister, when we were younger, we were very, very, very fair-skinned. And growing up, there was, I guess, always this sense of not necessarily belonging, because I wasn't black enough to hang out with African-American children. I wasn't white, so I didn't really fit in there either. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing is going to be teaching our children to have confidence in yourself regardless of whether or not people accept you. First things first, you have to accept yourself at the end of the day. So I think that's going to be the bigger thing. But it does concern me. I think it concerns me more when I'm thinking about if we wind up having a boy. Just because I think there are certain things that
I would say that's fair.
I'm probably honestly going to have to go to my dad to talk to him about, or teach him that you just don't have that experience on. Like, you're not, obviously, you're not a person of color, so you don't have certain life experiences. So I think I'm going to rely a lot on my dad for those things, to be that black male figure if we have a son in our son's life.
Well, and admittedly, so I don't know if you remember when we went to Tennessee a couple of years ago.
Oh God, the Tennessee trip.
We ended up going to a Ruby I think it was a Ruby Tuesday or TGI Fridays.
Yeah.
We typically go to Asheville every year for Valentine's Day. It was a spot we go to every year. A little bed and breakfast outside of Asheville that we just absolutely love. Go back every year. In fact, we didn't get to go this year for the first time in our the entire length of our relationship, unfortunately. But we decided to go to Pigeon Forge one year when we were up there, and we ended up going to a show and going out to eat afterwards. And it was weird. I made a comment to her a couple of weeks later that I actually felt safer in downtown Philadelphia with
walking hand in hand
than I did in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, because of all the looks we were getting Now, granted, it's kind of hard to sometimes know what the looks are for, whether it's the age difference or the racial difference. But
in Tennessee, it was definitely the racial difference. We were in a
certainly.
restaurant full of white people. Like I was the only person of color in the restaurant, so I think it was very much that. And there was a lot of, I don't know. I just think sometimes you feel that unspoken kind of tension, especially when people are aggressively staring at you. So yeah,
I'm certainly more on guard depending on the environment.
Yeah. That was like, whew. Why'd you bring that memory back up? I like tried very hard to forget about that
see what the comments say on that one.
Experience. Okay, we are gonna keep it rolling. Crystal P asks what your spiritual beliefs are as a family.
Ooh, this is an interesting question.
Well, first off, I believe in God. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but okay, well, he spoke for himself, but we both are spiritual people. I think I am a little bit more outwardly spiritual than Jeremy is. I don't want to take anything away from your spirituality, but I think I'm just a little bit more outwardly spiritual. I tend to pray out loud. I think
my relationship with religion in general
religion.
is I'm not going to say bad, I'm not going to say good. I was raised in a very I'm not going to say a very Christian family, but I was raised in we went to church every Sunday. I went to Sunday school every Sunday, and later in my childhood there was not to go into too much detail, I had an event in my life that was that kind of shaped a lot of things, and one of the basically my family that was this practicing religious family and went to church regularly and did all these religious things, ended up turning into some of the biggest hypocrites. That's one of the more frustrating things with me, especially as it relates to religion. Not to spend too much time on that topic because I know we have questions to get to.
I don't know. I think we both had kind of similar experiences with like I don't know, I guess people who either in your family or in the church who don't practice what they preach, or are very judgmental. So I don't think we necessarily participate in organized religion, but we're definitely spiritual people, and we definitely believe in God. And I feel like what's important is my relationship with God, because it doesn't matter if you go to an organized church event. You can go to church every day of your life. If you don't have a relationship with God that's one-on-one outside of your church or outside of for outwardly perceptions, then what are you doing it for? You're in it for the wrong reasons. So okay. All right, Jane, who also is TTCing after a vasectomy reversal, asks, were we ever told about scarring after the operation, and what do we do to prevent it? We were told about scarring, or maybe you didn't really hear much of that.
I briefly, I haven't noticed any scarring. I mean, immediately after, obviously, and even a couple of months after, but
you're not going to notice scarring. Scarring is on the inside of the tissue. So you wouldn't
that type
notice
of
that.
scarring. I didn't know if it was external. So,
we were told about scarring, and we didn't really do anything to prevent it long term. The only thing we did was follow the doctor's instructions. Did not have sex before we were told to. I know a lot of women break that rule and think that, oh my gosh, scarring is like the definite thing that's going to happen, so let me hurry up and have sex even though he's not healed, just so that I can hopefully get some of those swimmers before everything seals up. The biggest thing I would say is anytime you get a vasectomy reversal, definitely follow your doctor's protocol. Keep ice and cold things on it. Do not go in like hot tubs and anything like that, at least for the first, I think it's like 6 weeks. And also make sure you take anti-inflammatories, and don't cause trauma to the area.
It's gonna sound funny, but frozen peas work very well.
Most of these people don't have this.
I know, but it's frozen peas. Just remember that. They don't have sharp protruding edges, which is why I've been told. Yeah, ice has a tendency to be kind of jagged in certain spots.
I
So.
left that up to their
Long story
interpretation.
short. Yeah, anyway,
They can keep. They know how to keep their partners things good. Okay, we are going to move on to Tiffany, who asked a question that many people are asking right now: is what our next steps will be, and so we aren't going to go with any more testing for now. We are going to take a break. I am honestly tired of being poked and prodded for the time being and having these very invasive things done. So we are definitely going to pause on testing, and we're going to keep on trying in July. And I do have an appointment also coming up with a maternal fetal medicine doctor, so they will hopefully do a meet and greet with me and get a little bit familiar with my case, so that when we do get pregnant, it's a much smoother process. So that's kind of where we are with next steps. Okay, Nakeensha asks, can you share a few of your daily motivational routines that keep you focused and encouraged? I think more than anything, in the morning when I initially wake up, sometimes before I open my eyes, sometimes I say a quick prayer. Other times I just tell myself that I'm going to have a good day and I'm going to get through whatever that hurdle is at the time. And I have family who loves and supports me, so I'm not going through it alone, even though it does feel that way sometimes. I think the biggest thing is like telling yourself whatever positive affirmations that you respond to. It's not going to be the same for everybody, but whatever that one thing is for you that kind of gives you a little bit of motivation to keep on going, tell yourself that. For me, the biggest thing is like, I'm not a quitter, so I just tend to tell myself, like, if you want this and I know how bad you want it, you are gonna get it because you're doing everything in your power to get it. What were you about to say?
No, it's really fascinating how many people are asking about how we cope with stress and motivational things, and how we move about and move on from and how we cope with things and how we deal with stress. And I'm really fascinated by the number of questions that relate to dealing with stress and day-to-day life.
I mean, I think part of it is because too, like, you guys often see us. Yeah, you've seen me at some very like low moments, but I think you guys often see us always like on a more upbeat note or a more positive note. There are days where, of course, we're not reaching out for the camera, like, let me get this on camera. But there are days where, either one of us or both of us are a little bit down and don't necessarily feel like doing anything, don't necessarily feel like talking about anything. I think we all tend to have those days. I think the biggest thing is for us to not get like sucked into this negative vortex where that becomes every day or a string of days. So yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing. Rakosha says she listens to music. I definitely do that too. I have a gospel station on Pandora that plays like really fast and uplifting music, so that's definitely another good one.
And the optimism, she also mentioned that we're optimistic people. I would say that's probably a fair assessment too. We're both pretty optimistic people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of like an optimistic realist. You're more of like a diehard optimist.
Yeah, admittedly, I think it's to the point of frustration sometimes. I have this weird innate ability to let everything go when I go to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning like, back to the new day.
Yeah, it can sometimes be a bit much to handle.
You're frustrating sometimes.
She also asked, you are, I mean, I know I am too. No, she also asked, can you share a moment where we were discouraged during the TTC journey? And it's like, I think the moment where I was the most discouraged during our TTC journey was right before the miscarriage, when I felt like that civilian doctor kind of turned her back and shut me out. Yes. I think that was when I got the most discouraged. So it was like part of our journey, but it wasn't even the actual trying to conceive portion of it. It was literally the stress of trying to get a doctor on board when it came to pregnancy.
That was the most discouraging thing for me. Just seeing you go through this whole process and then having that happen in the medical community, at least up here, being just so, I don't know, just the doctors, some of the doctors we were dealing with or just came across like that they had no bedside manner and didn't necessarily know how to be reasonably, what's the word I'm looking for? Compassionate.
Yeah.
It just came across kind of cold and insensitive at times.
Yeah, so I think that was the biggest thing. In regards to like actually TTCing, I don't think I ever really feel like discouraged, because I feel like even sometimes when I've been disappointed, if it's not my month, I tend to feel like, okay, there's always next month though. It's like literally, 1 month away. Yes, it's one more month down that I'm not pregnant yet, but I don't know. I guess for me, I just feel like, okay, if I'm out this month, I'm going to enjoy having a little bit of wine maybe, and I'm going to keep it pushing and move on to next month. I don't think I really tend to get down. There are moments, of course, where you feel like, do I want to really focus on this anymore? But
excuse me.
Yeah, I don't think that is like the main thing for me. I think it's always like involving pregnancy, and I think now it's more become is the doctor going to help me? That's always the first question I have in my mind going into every appointment. Is this appointment going to be actually helpful for me?
Or did I just waste my time?
Yeah. I think, okay, she asked, why is your faith or hope why is your faith or hope with a healthy mindset important with TTCing? I think your mindset with anything in general that you want to achieve is very important. But as far as the TTC process, we already know that like stress is not helpful to the process at all. And I am never going to tell anyone to just relax or don't stress or anything like that, because it can be stressful and it does have its moments. I think where my faith comes in is like the saying, you only have to have the faith of a mustard seed, and sometimes my faith is literally as small as that mustard seed, if not smaller, but it's always there. It's always been something I have held on to. The fact that this is going to happen for us has always been something that I, even in the lowest of times, even during miscarriage, I've always held on to the fact that I am eventually going to be holding our baby at some point. So I think that's like the main thing that keeps me going and motivates me to have a positive outlook on things, is I'm thinking about more so the end game versus what I'm going through in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna open it up for some questions in the chat now. I wanted to get through all of the questions on my iPad first that we had got in the comments. Okay, Haley is asking, do we have any advice for dealing with the negatives? I'm going to ask you, negatives what? Are you talking about negative people or
negative news that comes out of some of the testing potentially?
Okay, we will come back to that. Whoa. How old are the kids? The oldest, Walker, is 14, and the younger, Mia, she is 11. So.
Negative pregnancy test.
Oh, those negatives. My only advice is always look at it like, don't look at it so much as this is yet another month that I'm not pregnant. Don't look at it like a score tally. I don't know how long you've been trying, but I think for me, I don't look at it as like, oh my gosh.
11 months.
Oh, did she say 11
months?
11
months.
Oh, now I see it. Yeah, it was further up than that. I think like the biggest thing is like, don't look at it like just this score tally that you're keeping for yourself. Like another one pretty much bites the dust. How I tend to look at it as, okay, I have one more month where I can start trying. When we got our vasectomy reversal, we didn't know if anything was going to work, and we knew that we still had that year time frame for when a healthy couple should get pregnant. So I would say, okay, it's always going to be one more month until I get to that year point. And when I get to that year point, I'm going to be like, all right, we're going to try, but I'm going to seek out some type of medical assistance, whatever that may be. Yeah. So I think I don't know, negative pregnancy tests, I don't think are, it's one of those things that is never like not disappointing to see. I think the biggest thing is don't get like too consumed with it. It's like my only advice that I can give. I know that's not probably the most helpful, but yeah, I think when I have gotten negatives, or usually it's not like I'm telling Jeremy like, oh, I'm taking a test right now, but when I have gotten negatives, it's usually like, okay, we're gonna go get some wine. I am gonna go get, you know, some sushi or chocolate or things that I'm normally not eating during my cycle. And yeah, it's basically like, okay, let me do all the things that I can't do or wouldn't be able to do in pregnancy since I'm not actually pregnant.
Haley says I caught you.
That was for you. She's always asking like, where is Jeremy? Okay, I'm gonna scroll back up, and I know I had some other questions in here.
There was just a question while you're doing that I wanted to say something about. So the question was about sharing our lives on YouTube. I admittedly I do a couple of videos with Mariah, but she does the majority of them. I'm not, I mean, obviously I have a military background, so there's certain things that I can't and won't share. So I would say, to your point, maybe, but for the most part, I actually kind of have a little fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always necessarily want to share like every single thing. Of course, there are parts of our lives that we want to keep like just to ourselves, but I think we share as much as possible, and we kind of look at it as a narration that's true to what we're going through, but we want it to also be helpful for other people. So I think that's like the most important thing. CVS, have we considered IVF, and what would be the reasons you guys would or would not do so? When it comes to the word considered, we've known that IVF is an option, meaning in the realm of all possibilities. Have we personally considered IVF for ourselves? No. Why? Because it is not affordable for us. And that's like frankly what it is. We cannot afford IVF. And IVF comes with no guarantees at the end of the day either. So you can spend all this money and make this huge investment, and it could ultimately amount to absolutely nothing in the end. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I think that we said the most we would do is IUI if it came down to it, because we can get that done on a military base at a significantly cheaper rate. It will only be a couple $100s, and that's way different than tens of thousands of dollars. So I think, yeah, IVF is really not on our list of true options for ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, scrolling. Okay, so she also asks, so she says, we've had 2 miscarriages before our current pregnancy, and my side is very religious and said that God is punishing us. How was the Christian community, or how has the Christian community responded to your fertility journey? I think we have 2 categories. One category is the people who actually respond by just being encouraging, saying, you will get there, God has not forgotten about you, we're going to pray for you, we are being hopeful. Some people have even sent me, positive, uplifting scriptures and things like that. But on the other hand, I've had people that tell me to keep my pregnancy to myself, keep the fertility journey to myself. They've never quite said that God is punishing me, but it's always been in a tone of, have you ever considered the reason why you keep miscarrying is because you're sharing your journey publicly? It's kind of been that kind of tone. So yeah, I mean, I feel like you're always going to get people who say things that you don't necessarily want to hear, Christian or not. Yeah. But I feel like if you are a very religious person and you are telling me that, the Christian community is kind of being nasty towards you, then just know that God's going to take care of that. You don't even have to worry about that, because at the end of the day, God knows where their heart is, and God can see everything that they're doing. Yeah. So I personally would not even worry about it. If you need to cut those people out of your life, you don't need any added negativity during your current pregnancy. So, yeah, that's what I would do.
I don't live my life by considering what other people think about me, if that makes any sense. I mean, I certainly like sharing the journey, but at the end of the day, I'm not.
Yeah, we're not living our life according to like other people's commentary, and I think that applies very much the same. But I don't know, churches can be like very intense environments. So
it's funny. Mariah told me not to read the comments in some of her videos, and
yes, because some of them were so
really
disrespectful and mean. Like, oh my gosh, for some people, they're always like, you guys get so much support and love on here. And it's like, because I refuse to put out some of the nasty comments that people do send. So just know that we have a little bit of a mixed bag. I get some hateful comments and some very nasty comments. And, you know, some of them attacking not only me, but attacking Jeremy and our family and things. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I tend to cut those people out and keep my day moving. Oh. Well, I hope you can also start in July, Louis G. I really do. I don't like anybody who has to like sit on the kind of the bench and wait. That's like never, it's never fun. And I know because I've been there for quite a few months now. I'm looking through just to make sure there are any other questions, which I don't think there are. Yeah, I don't think there are. Thank you everybody for coming in. I see where some of you guys had came in. Brittany asked, do we get a lot of people looking at us when we go places? Yes. It is the same for us. Everywhere we go, pretty much people will stare. And the difference is we don't know if it's because of the age or because of our race.
I still remember the guy in Walmart that decided they crashed into the end cap.
Yeah, this guy in Walmart was walking by us and staring, and he was staring so hard that he ran his cap into an end cap and like spilled a bunch of drinks. Yeah, I mean, we've gotten a lot of dirty looks, a lot of peculiar looks, a lot of I'm curious, how does that work looks. We've also gotten commentary on when we're out on the streets. You know, people sometimes, I don't think I've ever been called like, I think the worst comment I have heard is, how can you stand to be with your oppressor? I was like, wow.
I didn't hear that comment.
Wow. That's because it was approached once you had walked away. That's why.
Wow.
So, yeah. Yes, being an interracial couple definitely is, you have to have thick skin. Like, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Says, wow. Yeah, I didn't hear it either.
Yeah. Like,
I probably would have reacted some kind of way had I actually heard that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it is what it is. I've gotten so many comments. You don't know how many, both male and female, but males have approached me. Why are you with him? Why are you with him? How can you be with your oppressor? He's a white man.
we for a long time, we still do it occasionally, but we used to joke a lot. In fact, we still joke. Can I tell them about how we used to joke with our show? We had this running joke that we've shared with our families. So admittedly, we've joked and had nicknames. So I am her sugar daddy, and she is my trophy wife. So there, we put it out there, and we're just obviously saying that it's not true, but it's really funny.
That's people's like perceptions. Everywhere we go, like if we get dressed, and because I'm younger, so I dress a certain kind of way. And you guys, I mean, I'm always wearing like t-shirts on here, but like if we actually get up and go dress and get dressed
Jake
for the
Adley's
night,
is so funny. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, if we actually go out somewhere, like if we go to a club or a really nice event or something like that, and I get dressed up, people think sometimes that he's my sugar daddy. And I always say, like, listen, if he was my sugar daddy, he would need to make way more money to be doing that. Like, seriously.
Hey, just so you know, the military doesn't pay that well.
Yeah. Oh, you get a lot of dirty looks? Ugh. Brittany, you know what I like to do? Like, sometimes I do get dirty looks. I tend to wave at people.
Sugarlicious. Wow.
I tend to wave at people, or I ask them like how their day is doing, or I can say, hi, how can I help you? Or sometimes I just tend to make them feel a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, we tend to have fun with it. I think like, for me, it's never been a type of thing where I've like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be seen with Jeremy because people are staring at me because he's older than I am. It's just been kind of like, whatever. People will get over it. At the end of the day, they don't pay any of my bills. They don't run my life. They don't help me in any way. And they are not going to stop my blessings. So I think it's just kind of one of those things like, as long as no one says something like, disrespectful to him or approaches us and says something truly disrespectful, then it's kind of like whatever. I think when it comes to people like being flat out disrespectful, it's more than where I'm like, I'm gonna have some real choice words. I try not to be that way, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss any questions from anyone, which I don't think I have. Rosa had asked me, she had said that she, because she gets our channel and she only has 15.
Somebody said hi to Harley.
Was he just in the frame?
He was, he walked behind us.
She said she only had 15 subscribers and, how to just be more successful on YouTube. And the only way I can answer that is just be yourself and put what you want to put out. Don't let other people dictate how you choose to run your channel or what types of videos you choose to do. Just be yourself, let your personality shine, and the people who are drawn to you will wind up finding you.
Natalie Harley is 6, so Harley was a puppy when we met.
Yes, he was like a baby. I actually got Harley probably
4 months, 5 months.
4 months? No, I didn't have him. He was a tiny puppy. He was only, I think, like.
He was 80 pounds when we met. Or pretty close.
No. When I introduced him to you, that was one
that's
thing.
fair. Yeah,
I already had the dog.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot I hadn't met the dog until
Harley was
like April.
Yeah, Harley was maybe 2 months old when we met. But yeah. Yes, when people say about you, it's not your business.
Yep.
Yes, it's none of their business at the end of the day. Then we had a couple of people who said like, your mother knows about this, or your mother's hi Harley, your mother's okay with this. It's like making his cameo.
Like, I want to come. I want to be part of the video.
Some people have asked, like, your mother knows about this, or how does she feel about your relationship with your husband? And at the end of the day, it's always been like,
wow, seriously, what
my
a ham.
mom accepts the fact that I'm with my husband. Did she like it in the beginning? No, but at the end of the day, it's my relationship. So,
you're a ham.
You are.
You're a ham. Well,
so it's always been one of those things where I don't know. I wouldn't worry much about what people say as long as it's not stopping your money, stopping your blessings. Keep it kind of pushing. Yep. At the end of the day,
the relationship with her parents was a little fun at first.
Yeah,
but I knew my personality would eventually win.
My parents did not like Jeremy at all when we first started dating. They did not. No. I won't say hate is too much of a strong word to use. I think like it's more like despised. Yeah. And not because it was him, just because of the fact that there was that big age difference. They were very like suspicious of what his motives were and didn't want me to wind up getting hurt. So yeah, you've come a long way.
Yeah,
a long way.
She didn't want to talk. Her mother didn't even want to talk to me when we first met, and then within a year we were shopping together.
Thank you, Quintina. We try. Marriage is a hard thing. TTC process definitely will throw some other things in there. And
young woman, what else? Yeah, that's fair. I mean, admittedly, when we first, when I first
my mom said, "Why do you want to steal my daughter's youth?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Harmless little flirt. in the very beginning. It's hard to imagine just back then how it all started so innocently, and here we are.
Yeah.
Almost 6 years later.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions, guys? I think like I've answered pretty much all of them. I keep skimming through the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, Haley did ask, are we taking supplements to help us conceive, and are we going to try anything different? In the video where I think it's called Preparing My Body for Pregnancy After Loss, I talk about all the supplements that I'm taking, and the only thing that I've added into that range is vitamin D. That's the only thing that I've added. But I am taking supplements, not so much to help us conceive, because we don't seem to have an issue
You really
conceiving.
need to go outside, don't you?
Go ahead and look. What?
You're staring at me like you want to eat me.
I don't really have an issue with the conceiving part. It's usually the carrying part. So I'm taking all these supplements to hopefully improve the quality of my eggs and make sure that I'm getting the best egg possible. And as far as if we're going to try anything different, I think we will switch on and off with pre-seed. We've used pre-seed in the past successfully, but I don't know. I think we'll do a month on using it and a month off, and we'll see. I don't think I really need to necessarily change anything about the trying to conceive part. It's more of like making a plan for a successful pregnancy. Need Cash says, hey Harley, they would probably love to play together. Harley loves to play with any kind of dog possible, even Chihuahuas. People are always so surprised when he plays with tiny dogs, but he definitely loves puppies. All right. Oh, will we be doing any injections? As of right now, no. What I hope for is to have progesterone in the form of suppositories, because that's the best way to get it versus orally. And no, we don't have a plan right now for any injections. Yeah, Verkocious, kind of like just more so like go with the flow. If you know you've been successful at using certain things, why bother changing it?
Sorry. Kid bladder.
No, we have not tried Levinox or heparin injections. The thing about heparin is that you need to be very careful because it thins the blood, and if I was to have a slip and fall or anything like that, that could be more detrimental than what it's actually worth. So I think that would be on the last kind of line of a treatment plan versus the first kind of stitch efforts. The first kind of wave of efforts is, I think, going to be progesterone, and then we'll kind of go from there. So Nikisha, I did answer your questions, but I will quickly answer them again. Just saying that the thing I hold on to the most for that keeps me focused and encouraged during the TTC process is just the faith and me focusing on the end result. The end result is going to be me holding our take-home baby, so that's what I tend to focus on, not necessarily what I'm going through in the present time. Oh, no, you're fine. You're totally fine. And then the moment that I said that I got discouraged when TTCing was actually during my pregnancy. It wasn't even the TTC process itself. It was during my pregnancy when I went to see a civilian doctor, and that this doctor pretty much wrote me off and excuse me, and pretty much had just an abundance of apathy instead of empathy. So that have been the only times that I've gotten discouraged in the process. And I think now that has had a little bit of a lasting effect, because now when I go into appointments, now when I'm meeting new doctors, I am a little bit more anxious than I used to be, because I always feel like I'm kind of mentally on the defense because I'm already preparing myself for not even a battle, but for me to have to explain all of these different things to them, and for me to also just always advocate for myself. So I think sometimes, while I believe advocating for yourself is an absolutely wonderful thing, it's hard when you have to always think about your doctor in the context of someone that you have to potentially kind of push to get them to do what you know you need versus them just being willing to help you. Oh, thank you, Haley. Jeremy always makes the comment that, like, oh, has anyone said anything about your wedding
It's
ring?
funny that I made that comment last week.
Thank you. I love my wedding ring. He actually designed it with, help from me, but it's custom, which I definitely like.
Yeah.
This is actually my second wedding ring. I lost my first one. I was already gonna get another one anyway, but I lost my first one, which was so devastating. I think I cried for at least like 6 months anytime that ring situation was even brought up. But yeah, I'm happy I got this one. I'm still kind of hoping that one day my other ring, because I lost it at my parents' house, so I'm hoping that one of these days when they move that it'll still turn up. Okay, we have more questions. Go ahead. Do we plan on breastfeeding? Not necessarily. I am more of the opinion that it's going to be whatever's going to be the most comfortable. I need to make sure that I'm getting proper rest so that I can be on my A game as far as taking care of all the baby's needs. And with bottle feeding, it also gives Jeremy an opportunity to have some bonding time. So, I'll definitely make that decision later on, but I'm not a person who's like, 100% hands down, I'm going to without a doubt breastfeed. Do I have any anxiety during pregnancy and how do I deal with it? Ooh, that's not good for you to have panic attacks at your ultrasounds. So when I took my last pregnancy test the last time, I told myself before I even took the test, myself and I had a conversation before I took the test that I would not stress based off the fears of what happened in the past. So even though I have had multiple miscarriages, the biggest thing is always for me is that was the past. Yes, it happened, but it does not mean that's what's going to happen this time. I think I walk into each pregnancy with, and some people might find it stupid, but I walk in with the notion that this time it's going to be different and this time it's going to work. Because the biggest thing is I don't want to not only not stress myself out, I don't want to look back on this pregnancy and feel like, oh my gosh, I regret where I was mentally during that time. Like, I want to actually enjoy pregnancy. So I think sometimes we all kind of tend to have to be a little bit careful with looking back too much and kind of letting our fears of what happened previously kind of dictate how we are going to react or navigate our future pregnancies. Yeah, that's like the only thing I can do. Meditation also helps too. You can even find guided meditations on YouTube for free. But I think the biggest thing for me is every day that I'm pregnant, for whatever time period I'm pregnant, I tell myself I'm going to enjoy every moment of it as much as I physically and mentally can. I am going to talk to the baby as much as I can, and I'm going to be hopeful. Now, of course, we all get anxious, like when we are actually at the appointment, because we don't want to hear any bad news. But yeah, I think there's no like one size fits all solution. You kind of have to figure out what's going to work for you and keeping you as calm and reassured as you can possibly be. Because the fact of the matter is I think sometimes it's about like accepting the things that you can't change or can't control. Like, I know during my last pregnancy, I didn't really have control over anything but my body, myself, what I ate, what I drank, those types of things. So while sometimes it was nerve wracking, and I did have some moments where it was just like I just want everything to be okay, it was more so like, don't stress out about it. Just try to enjoy this baby for however long they're with us. Oh, she said do a belly cast. I feel like a belly cast would be cool to do, but it's like, what am I going to do with it after the fact? I would love to do one, but at the same time, it's like, I don't see myself hanging it on the wall, so I feel like it's going to wind up in a box somewhere.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, even with Mikey and Mia, there's a lot of things. I think there's a couple of things that some things they did at school, and some. I think I have a poem with a handprint hanging up by their rooms, but it's a lot of that stuff ends up collecting dust.
Yeah. And Verkosha, yeah, I think that's good. Like I think it's always like a mind over matter type of thing. Like if you are in a good mental space, then I feel like your chances of success are going to be greater. But I understand the anxieties involved with pregnancy after miscarriage, and sometimes you have days where it's just you can't control it. So I definitely understand. Okay, we have, what are tips on buying baby clothes pre-baby without overdoing? What is your strategy? What is overboard? Because I love yellow and I want everything yellow for my baby girl and boy. Okay, so previously I have limited myself to a certain dollar amount. So whatever I can get within that dollar amount, that is the cutoff point. Some months I have only done $5. Other months I've done $10. So if I can get, 4 or 5 onesies or more for $10, or some shoes for that, then that is what I will get. And when it comes to buying them, my strategy is thinking about what the baby is going to be wearing during what month. So when I get onesies, sometimes if they're the short sleeve ones, then I feel like those are more flexible because you can always layer those with like sweaters and pants and stuff like that. When it comes to the longer sleeved ones, those are a little bit more difficult because if your baby winds up being a certain age or a certain size in the summertime, you don't necessarily want them wearing like this hot long sleeve thing. So I think it's more so like I try to stick to short sleeves. And I get onesies in varying sizes. So I have bought, the smallest I've bought is newborn, and the largest thing that I have bought is I think I did get a shirt that was a 3T. But onesie wise, I only go up to the 24 months. So yeah, I mean, I think I've tried to also get a variety of colors too and not get fixated on things. If you saw that last vlog I did, I had baby shoes in my hand, and I had to say to myself, am I getting these because they are tiny and I think they're like cute just because they're small, or am I getting them because I actually want them? And I didn't really want them. I just liked the fact that they were sort of inexpensive and small. So I don't know, it's the checks and balances. I think a price gap every month that you decide to go shopping, pre-baby shopping, would be a great way to start, because then this is all I have in the budget to spend. Okay.
I like the advice about the belly cast, by the way, about painting. That's certainly a good idea. And putting them in the baby's room. That's an interesting approach.
I have seen those, and I've seen some really nice ones on Instagram lately that are done with it's almost like mosaic style, and they put cut pieces of mirror and stuff on them. I don't know what I would do with it. I would have to have a definitive answer about what I'm going to do with it before doing it, if that makes sense. Yeah, Jay Natalie, I do take prenatals. I take the Spring Valley brand because it has folate in it instead of folic acid. Previously, I was taking the Nature Made brand, but that only has folic acid in it. So I wanted a prenatal that has folate instead. yeah, Verkosha, you should enjoy every minute of your pregnancy.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like I don't even know how I'm going to feel the next time I'm pregnant. I just feel like all I can do is try to enjoy it to the max. I don't know where my mind is going to be that day.
Haley, your belly got shaved from pulling it off.
Ooh, yeah.
Robbie,
That seems like more stress.
Right? Robbie, we're both from Pennsylvania. She actually grew up outside of Philadelphia, and I actually grew up outside of Reading, which is about an hour or so west of Philadelphia.
Yeah, that sounds painful.
It does.
That makes me like automatically not want to do it. How many kids do we want? So we already have 2 children. Jeremy brought in 2 from the previous marriage, and we said the most that we will probably have is 2 more. So we will see. We will get through at least 1 pregnancy. You know, we don't know. We never know. It's a toss-up, coin toss, whether or not we're going to get 1 or 2 babies in 1 pregnancy. But we're going to just kind of see how it is with getting through 1 pregnancy first, and then we will make that determination. I'm also of the realization I have come to a place where, although I am very hopeful and remain very faithful in the process, I also understand that there just might only be 1 pregnancy in the cards for me. I don't know what my body's going to do during my next pregnancy. And I don't know what's going to happen after I do have a live baby. There's a lot of variables. So I'm going to really have to think about what's going to be best for my health in the long run. I can say that I want X amount of children, but it's really going to be about what's in the cards for us.
Haley said she did a psychic reading. We're going to have twins and then a single one, I think is what she said.
Well, I don't think we'll be doing 3. I think if we have twins initially, that will be kind of the stopping point for me. But like I said, I can never say like definitively that there's going to be a certain amount. It's $10 a onesie here. You guys don't have like Old Navy or anything that's comparable to like Old Navy or anything like that? That's where I do most of my shopping at. Old Navy and Target. The packs of onesies are great. I can't remember who in here said it, but like the 3 packs of onesies, I tend to get those when I can too. Sometimes at Target, I forget what brand they are. They have a little elephant on them, but they are like under $3. I actually just bought 2 onesies, a 2-pack of them, and they were like $2.50 at Target.
And that's Haley. You're in Australia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And
I think that's like all of the, what were we about
not
to say?
about to do math in public, so I'm not sure what the conversion rate from $22 Australian is to US dollars.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think that is pretty much it, guys. Yeah, that is expensive. I can imagine. I literally, when I go into a store, y'all would think I'm so cheap if you were to like shop with me. If you were to go into a store with me, I literally have a set amount that I want to spend total, but I have like certain values, even for onesies. I most of the time will not pay over
Thank you, Mrs. Diaz.
$2 for a onesies. Yes, thank you for joining us, Mrs. Diaz. You too, Verkosha. Yeah, I don't pay any more than like $2 for a onesie unless it's highly specific and very like cute. I have to have it like it has to be a must-have type of item for me to pay that much on it. Local but nothing groups on Facebook always has free baby clothes. What Facebook group, Tabby, has free baby clothes? We are going to do a gender reveal, but we are going to wait. We're not going to find out the gender initially when we like that first scan where we can. We're going to wait probably until I think I said 7 until I'm in like the 6th or 7th month to do a baby shower, and we'll do the gender reveal in combination with the baby shower. No, we don't really thrift shop because we're not buying other items yet. Like, we're not buying like cribs or swings or anything like that. So we don't really thrift shop for the baby. I do go to Plato's Closet, which is basically a consignment shop for myself. I'll do that for myself, but yeah, I don't really do that for pre-baby shopping. Thank you so much, Antonique. Will you guys have a diaper shower? What is a diaper shower?
I've never heard of a diaper shower before. It sounds like a baby shower, but for the man.
Oh, they call Buy Nothing on Facebook. Oh, they have it through there in Chicago. That's another great option for people.
Shower my man with milk.
I can't with you right now. I cannot with you right now. Kilos and oh yeah, Walmart is another good one too. I think Walmart is like, surprisingly, I don't ever find like super good deals on baby clothes at Walmart though.
Excuse me.
Oh, is it like a baby shower for a man? I don't know. I guess I just took it as we were gonna do a shower together. I don't really think like. Yeah, I don't really see my baby shower being like...
Oh, no, I'm certainly good with drinking beer, but I think that will happen at the shower anyway. At least I'll be drinking beer at the shower.
Oh, I mean... Yeah, I mean, they can also come to my house to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's not like we can do a shower and it could be like bring your own bottle. I'm not supplying anything. I can drink it. I'm not supplying
that's
it.
True.
But no, I mean, I think it would just be great to do it. I think we're going to do it pretty small anyway, with just a few friends and some family, and keep things a little bit more intimate. But we'll do pretty much everything together. I don't think there's anything that we really don't do together.
And we live in New York.
Yes, we are in New York. About 2 hours. It's like really 2 hours above the city. So we are in...
With traffic, yeah.
We're in kind of a suburban / farm-ish kind of area.
Yeah. We're in the Hudson Valley area.
This is some pants out of yours. So my husband said, whose baby is that for? Oh, gosh. See, Brittany, when I buy clothes, he always assumes that I got something for him. When I'm like, look, I have something to show you. He's like, oh, is that for me? And I'm like, no, it's for the baby.
Oh.
All right, guys. Well, we need to go ahead and hop off of here. We need to go ahead and eat dinner. A mushroom dinner.
No, don't. Yeah, no, that's... I think it's a bot. Or somebody that's just...
What? Okay. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and eat dinner. We're having stir fry. Jeremy already was like thoughtful enough to go ahead and prep that before we started this. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A. I loved interacting and chatting with you all. So I will definitely see you in the next video, which will be, I think, on Thursday. I don't think I have an upload for Tuesday this week, so I will see you guys on Thursday again. Thank you, everybody, for joining me.